All right, call this meeting to order. Please rise and pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore? Here. Mrs. Thompson? Here. Mr. Gray?
Here.
Mr. Bittner,
Here.
Ms. Wong? Here. Mr. Lunder?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of council, June 10th, 2025. The mayor submitted some corrections to the minutes. Did anybody else have any corrections to the minutes? Does anyone want to make a motion to amend as presented by the mayor?
Make a motion. I was presented by the mayor.
Motion made by Mr. Bittner. Is there a second to that? Second by Mrs. Moore. Roll call on the amendment, please.
Mrs. Moore? Aye. Mrs. Thompson? Aye. Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong? Aye. Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Wong, second by Mr. Bittner. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore? Aye. Mrs. Thompson? Abstain. Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong? Aye. Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Correspondence tonight. Clerk, do you have any correspondence tonight?
I do not.
Does any member of council have correspondence that we should share tonight?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to administrative department head reports. Mayor and Safety Director, Mr. Eva, good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, members of council, the public here this evening. Suzanne Kaysen has resigned from the Planning and Zoning Commission. This will be effective on August 1st. She's been as we all know, very valuable member of the commission for many years. We'll post this opening on our website and Facebook page. Like council to look at ordinance 2024-0-18. That's the retire regulations for the city employees. Specifically to add a clear reference to the employees paying into the police and fire pension fund. The Lake County Vision 2050 meeting materials from the June 17th meeting are out on our city's website. Today can be posted. Also on the website, there's a Vision 2050 link to their website, and also the Vision 2050 community survey link out there for us to look at. I think Jacqueline sent out last week, July 1st, the website will become available for transition into the new website. The new website will launch as www.mentorontheLake.gov. The previous website address can be used, and we'll reroute you to the .gov address. That concludes our report.
Okay, thank you. Administrative Director, Ms. Martin, good evening and welcome back.
The time to sign up for the in-person chronic disease self-management workshop has been extended. The sessions will begin on July 10th. Anyone who's interested. Resolution 2025-R23 to sell surplus city property is a yearly renewal, so nothing in the resolution has changed except for the dates. The police chief will give you the overview of the resolution 2025-R24 regarding Next Gen 911. We were given 60 days to send the resolution back to the 911 committee, but they asked if we could send it back within 30 days, which comes out to July 7th. In the last meeting, I was told that a McMinn sign was requested to be put on Andrews Road, and I was hoping maybe you could give me some more details. Because we already have 2 signs on Andrews, but maybe the intention was to put more signs at different intersections. Sure.
Yeah, it's not Andrews Road. It's actually on Marine Parkway. As you're coming in from Mentor, going north on Marine Parkway, people can't see that. There used to be, I think, at one point, a sign that had a little sign that pointed directly over to the park.
There's a sign now that says John R. McMinn Memorial Park.
At the park
At the
itself,
park
but
itself.
by the time you see it, you've passed it, if you look there. Like, my point is that if you're going north and you don't know the park is there, you just keep going. Cause you don't know to look there. I mean, so we have a little sign on going south. If we could do one going north, that would just be more convenient, because the people who aren't gonna know where the park is are the people not in our city.
Gotcha, okay.
So I'm there, that I was trying to, so we're on Lake Shore,
No.
like, you go through.
On
like,
Marine
go
Park,
there,
yeah, Plains and
Plains Road, and you
Parkway,
take a left on Marine and then that direction.
right, so if
Okay.
you're going north on Marine Parkway. Right across from the park would be great, somewhere, just right before, yeah. Was that all your report?
Oh, sorry, that was it.
Okay, thank you. Police Chief Forsyth, good evening.
My report, we're with the hire of Jim Neal, our patrols back up to full staff. I have a sergeant exam, scheduled for next Monday. That will replace our sergeant that left, Sergeant Dodd. After that, we will have a assessment panel interview, and hopefully by August, we'll have the sergeant police. We continue to write grants. We've already got grant money that was awarded for police radios. We received an award letter for 2 more flat cameras. I'm currently working on one to replace our computers in our cars. It's the 2025 JAG grant. But I'll just continue to apply for this. We're got our speed trailer out, it's up and operational, we're gonna get that staged. We also got a new traffic data collection unit. That we can move around the city, it'll monitor traffic, say for a week. And I can download the data, and it'll tell me what times of the day that I need to send my officers out to concentrate on.
Okay, thank you. Law Director, Ms. Schulte, good evening.
I have nothing to report.
All right, thank you. City Engineer, Mr. Parker, good evening.
Good evening. Just one thing to report is you may have noticed, the work on Southland is starting. The contractor Severino was out there yesterday. They were marking where there's a soft patch. Today they soft patch. Tomorrow they're actually gonna start installing sewer. They're gonna start at the west end, work their way east. So we anticipate that they'll finish for storm sewer, installation by early August. Then the paving by early September and complete the project by the end of the week. Good news that they're starting, all the utilities are going. As you may have seen, they've built left and site, there's a lot of material to put support on the storage.
Good, thank you. Any questions for administration and department heads?
What was that ordinance that you wanted us to look at again?
Retire.
Was it 2024-0-18?
Yes,
What specific section?
it states in there about OPERS, but it does not specifically state about police and fire pension fund. So it says people that paid into OPERS, but not necessarily police and fire pension.
Thank you.
Mr. Bittner?
Chairperson, the traffic collection unit, does this also collect speeds or is it just gonna tell you the amount of traffic?
Speed.
It does do speed as well, yes.
Anyone else? Mrs. Moore?
Will it attach to the unit that you already have, or is that something separate?
It's separate.
So there will be 2 different
So
ones
now-
that you can put around.
Yeah, gives us another option. Try to reduce speed violations.
And then I have one more thing. So I was gonna talk to the mayor about this, but increasingly hearing from people in the neighborhood, residents, people who are out walking, driving around, anything like that, the complaints about the kids on the electronic bikes and scooters. The biggest thing is, I know we have ordinances about if they're on the sidewalk, they're supposed to be under pedal power and not under electric power. If they're on under electric power, they're supposed to be like in the road. The biggest problem is the kids are on the sidewalks under electric power. They're trying to run people over. Not being nice to people who are quote in their way. I've seen it on many occasions. I've heard it from lots of people. You're stopped at a stop sign and they're under electric power and they're speeding down that sidewalk and they have no regard for anybody else being in this world except for them. A kid's gonna seriously get hurt, or somebody's gonna have to live with, you know, really harming a kid with no intentions because of this, and I don't know what we can do, but I think as a community, it's something that we really need to pay attention to and start addressing.
I agree. I've put it out to my officers. I'll put it out again. What's gonna help is once we get this new ordinance. It'll give us a little more, enforcement power, for lack of a better term. But the other thing we need to do is educate our community. So they're aware of the laws and they can start telling the kids. Get around, they just talked to a resident tonight about the same thing.
Thank you.
And to piggyback, I know we talked about this when you visited at the ordinance committee. Have we tried radar on those to see if that works, if it catches it?
It's not consistent. Some officers, some bikes you can, some you can't. It's just not consistent enough to use that for enforcement.
Thank you.
Anything else?
So, I'm sorry, just to clarify, so the new website going live, I understand the communication was that the closure for the transition is on July 1. What is the go live date? Previously, it was June 26th, so.
I had to coordinate it with .gov, so I had to have the organization and the website organization and match them up to the date that they both do the transition at the same time. So that's why it's on July 1st.
Okay, so the question is, what is the date that the new website would be available then for access? Or what's the new go live?
I would tell people July 2nd, but it possibly July 1st, just so you know that day. But I'm not gonna be, we're to verify whether it's on or not.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we will move on to board committee commission reports, Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, met on June 12th. We went over some more of the movie nights. We're really talking about renting the equipment this year versus buying it because it is such a big purchase. So we're looking at other vendors to rent it for one time, see how it goes. The annual garage sale had about 34 residents participate. We're looking at some more a possible event of doing something like a dog event, like a trick or treating for the dog kind of event. That's in discussion. As Mr. Martin stated, the chronic disease self-management workshop, the registration has been open till July 10th. The work session will be from July 10th to August 14th, 6 Wednesdays, from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. They need participants. So if you're able to sign up, please. It's not just, it's for everybody, not a specific target night. We briefly talked about the Fall Fest, having a table at the Fall Fest. Then we had new business, set a meeting to go over the master plans for Lobo Park. The special meeting for Parks and Recs for this will be June 30th, 6:30 p.m. here. We encourage people to attend. This is where the plans will be. I think we're gonna get them ahead. I asked them ahead of time, if possible, to share. Spark looks like he has something to say to us.
Yeah, so the intent of the meeting on the 30th is we're going to bring a blank sheet of these both paper. It's now we've been on it, sent to all of them. And then we're gonna solicit input. What do you want to see in the park? Do you want a restaurant? We'll have a mock up of a restaurant. We'll put that on the page. You want to pick the ball for it, and all of that can go on. And we can move it around and figure it all out. They will all be taped to the plan. We'll take a picture of it, and then we'll come back, we'll take that back, we'll develop a plan, bring it back to the committee. Have the committee say, yeah, that's what we want, no, that's not what we want, let's change some things here, and change something there, we'll put the sidewalks in, and other things, the things that, aren't big things that still go into a park. And once everybody's approved that, we'll color rendering, bring it back to council, we'll bring it back to the committee to approve and recommend to council, and we'll bring it back. So I know I've seen different things from other people contacting me, we're presenting the final plan, I said, this isn't our plan, this is y'all's plan. This is the residents' plan. We're not here to tell you what your park should be, we're here to find out what you want in your park. And then we will lay it out that way so that everyone gets, everyone's not gonna do what they want, that's not gonna happen, it's a small park. I've heard already request from a lot of different things that just aren't gonna fit in. Unless they're right on top of each other, we go up. So I mean, it's your plan, it's gonna be the residents' plan, we're just there to facilitate, put it together, make sure it's what everybody wants. Because once you guys approve it, that's our game plan. Going forward, if funding is available, we're gonna go forward with it, so systematic and draft all these items to the park. But eventually we hit the map.
So even better, I was under the assumption it was a final plan as well. But even better, that means more people show up, put your input into how you wanna see the park. That's good to know. So that will be once again, June 30th, 6:30. The next scheduled meeting for Parks and Recs was July 10th. It's gonna be July 10th at 6:30. Your turn.
Mr. President, may I ask a follow-up question to Mr. Parker about the June 30th
Sure.
meeting? Mr. Parker, has any of the information from the prior survey and public meeting been provided for you? You have all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good,
Yes,
thank you.
that's why, that's, again, there was a priority made to access to the beach. And that's why we've added some access to the beach and that's part of the development plan.
Okay,
And then we're using, we're gonna come with prefab, pieces, that are gonna be like pergola.
okay.
This is what a pickleball court. would look
Okay.
like. This is what restaurants.
Hoping to save
Based on-
reinvention of the wheel.
Yeah,
that's all.
based on exactly what came out of those surveys, that's what we're trying to prioritize. We'll have some other things, some miscellaneous things that we see in parks. We have a landscape architect group, they do all kinds of parks all over the country, so.
Thank you. Committee of the Whole, Envision. Committee of the Whole met on Tuesday, June 17th at 7 PM. Present were council members Wong, Lunder, Johnson, Moore, Thompson, Gray, and Bittner. Ryan Smalley from Envision led us through a discussion on the priorities with each council member providing their highest priority from the list provided by the steering committee. The list will be compiled and incorporated into the plan for further discussion. Mr. Knott, the owner of Professional Buildings on Munson, was provided an opportunity to address council regarding his property and his desire to put housing there, which conflicts with the proposed comprehensive plan as provided by the steering committee based on their feedback as well as resident feedback. And then the meeting was adjourned. Ordinance Committee.
Ordinance committee met on June 19th, 7 PM. In attendance was Mr. Bittner, Ms. Wong, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Moore, Ms. Schulte. We were discussing the e-bikes and following Ohio revised code and possibly adding our own code into these laws as well to making it easier for our officers to enforce these laws. We talked more about micromobility regulation enforcement, classifications of non-vehicles, devices on streets, low speed micromobility and e-scooter regulations, helmets and safety, and possibly safety class or doing something up at City Hall to educate riders on e-bikes. We concluded our meeting at 8:30.
Good, thank you. Zoning Committee.
Zoning committee met on last evening, June 23rd at 6:30 PM. Present were all members of the zoning committee, including zoning administrator, Mr. Snyder, and council vice president, Mrs. Moore. The committee's latest revisions to 1242.03 conditional use permits were agreed upon by all members and have been reviewed by our law director, incorporating some of her suggestions as well. The committee requests that the proposed changes now be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission for initial review prior to being incorporated into ordinance language. This will hopefully avoid cycling of the draft between council and back to committee and allow for changes suggested by the commission to be considered and incorporated before engaging legal services for repeated review and iterative drafting. Second, changes to the residential driveway and parking surface revisions were reviewed. The committee wishes to add an explicit requirement for proper maintenance of all driveways and aprons regardless of construction material, based on the idea that a well-maintained driveway of any material is more functional and aesthetically pleasing than one constructed of a durable material that is not kept in good condition. The preference for replacement with more durable materials was retained. However, the committee has abandoned the idea of prohibiting new gravel driveways or aprons. Instead, approval may be sought from the Planning and Zoning Commission for a variance if departure from the stated materials hierarchy is desired. This will allow for review of proposed replacement material in the context of the surrounding neighborhood and any other factors, and serve to preserve districts with more uniform driveway construction while avoiding undue restriction in neighborhoods where a mixture of driveway materials already exists. The committee also explored standards for construction of new gravel driveways and aprons, based on what other cities have used. And finally, apron repair was discussed, including establishing in the law who bears the responsibility for repair and to what standard, based on who initiated the request for the right-of-way work. Work on these changes is ongoing, and progress will be reviewed at the next committee meeting. Under new business, a request was brought by the zoning administrator to consider revision of the current law 660.05, duty to keep sidewalks in repair and clean. Currently, it is the property owner's responsibility to keep sidewalks in good repair and clear of ice and snow. However, enforcement of the snow removal is challenging given the specification for a response time that is more suited to completion of general repairs within 30 days, but is less practical or applicable to snow removal. In reality, the past and current practice is that the city has been clearing some sidewalks of snow every winter, typically along main roads where it is most needed by the mobility impaired and kids waiting for a school bus. The request to alter the law is based on complaints from last winter when our sidewalk plow broke, leaving us unable to provide the historical courtesy sidewalk plowing and a desire to enforce the law requiring property owners to do the work. This committee asked several questions, including: if the law is changed to facilitate enforcement, does the city intend to continue courtesy plowing of some sidewalks? Will we be able to enforce the law on property owners if the city continues courtesy plowing? Is selective enforcement fair to property owners who are not beneficiaries of courtesy plowing? Should specific districts of the city be specified for enforcement or as suitably eligible for courtesy plowing? The committee made two recommendations in this regard. First, the administration may consider consulting with our law director to discover what type of amendment to the existing law would best achieve the desired goal and avoid unintended legal consequences. And second, given that this request does not involve zoning code, the zoning committee requests that the matter be introduced to council and then assigned to an appropriate group, possibly the ordinance or safety committees at the discretion of the council president. And finally, the zoning administrator also brought a request from the administration asking for enhancement of 1020.05 rules and regulations. This governs excavation of streets and roadways during construction work. During the recent utility work on Southland, deep trenches were left exposed overnight, presenting a significant safety risk. Therefore, the ordinance should specify coverage of open trenches during idle periods. While we all agree that this was a valid concern, the matter does not pertain to zoning code or its enforcement. Therefore, the committee requests that the matter be introduced to council and then assigned to committee for the council president. Our meeting was adjourned at 8:24 PM and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any other board committees or commissions that met that aren't on the list tonight? Moving on, we'll move on to open to the public to speak. If you'd like to speak, please come to the lectern and state your name and address for the record. This is your opportunity to speak to council. It is not a back and forth with council. No mad rush, huh? All right, then we will close this portion open to the public to speak.
Can, with the money that you have validated us with.
We'll move on to legislation before council. Ordinance number 2025-0-12, which was referred back to the ordinance committee. You guys want to withdraw
Yes,
this
this
because
time
we're gonna
we-
replace it with something else?
Yes, at this time, we would like to withdraw that from the agenda.
Okay, so you're making a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mrs. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Wong to withdraw this ordinance 2025-0-12. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore. Aye. Mrs. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Gray.
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong.
Aye.
Mr. Lunder.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. All right, that has been withdrawn from the agenda. It will be replaced at a future date. Resolution number 2025-R-19, if you please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2025-R-19, third reading. A resolution authorizing the mayor and administrative director to enter into an agreement with National Auto Fleet and Best Truck to purchase a 2025 Ford F-550 dump body service truck at state term contract pricing at a price not to exceed $117,000 and declaring an emergency.
I believe the general consent was to wait until after the finance committee meeting to move this forward. Is
I believe we voted to table it until after that.
all right. We'll move on to resolution number 2025-R-20. Please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2025-R-20, third reading. A resolution accepting the rates as determined by the Lake County Budget Commission for tax year 2025, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the Lake County Auditor.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mrs. Moore. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong?
Aye.
Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Resolution number 2025-R-21, if you please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2025-R-21, second reading. A resolution approving the 2026 budget.
Okay, there's a public hearing for that on July 8th at 7 PM. So go on to third reading. Resolution number 2025-R-22, if you please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2025-R-22, second reading. A resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of agreements with Vehicle Alliance Group, LLC, DBA, Axis and Irons, and Community First National Bank for the lease purchase of a 2025 Fouts Spartan FB 94 fire truck at state term contract pricing at a price not to exceed $832,000 and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I believe the intent also was to wait until after the finance committee on this as well.
Yes.
I don't believe there was a formal motion.
Yes.
So we'll,
It's only on its second reading, so.
right, so we'll go to third reading. All right, resolution number 2025-R-23. Please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2025-R-23, a resolution authorizing the administrative director to sell surplus city property by way of internet auction and declaring an emergency.
Anything on this tonight?
Motion to suspend.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Moore, second by Mrs. Thompson to suspend the rules. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong?
Aye.
Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Motion for passage.
Second.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second was Mr. Gray. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong?
Aye.
Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Resolution number 2025-R-24, please read it by its title.
Resolution number 2025-R-24, a resolution authorizing the adoption of the county final plan for the next generation 911 NG 911 system presented by the Lake County 911 Program Review Committee and declaring an emergency.
You're up.
Can you turn the microphone? Thank you.
Or use the.
So my recommendation is to vote no on this and send it back. It seems to be, so far, most communities are voting this final plan down. The final plan requires 2 dispatchers at every shift. Many of the PSAPs, the chiefs have said that there are times when they don't need 2 dispatchers. And there's one agency that Sunday mornings, they have 1 dispatcher and it works for them. In the state of Ohio, if you meet all the other recommendations, they only require 1 dispatcher. Lake County is the only county in the state that is superseding state requirements. The concern is that if they require 2 dispatchers on every single shift, 24/7. Eventually it's gonna push smaller PCFs out of business. And so. And the point that was made by another jurisdiction was, if we went to Central, would we have 2 dedicated dispatchers for our city? The answer is no. Central Communications covers approximately 15 jurisdictions. And they usually have 4 dispatchers on every shift. So it doesn't match with what they want to require the other PCFs to do. And most of these smaller communities, what they're advocating for more representation.
If you look at the budgeted amounts under Mount Lake, Exhibit A, it's unbelievable. If you go near 1 to 5, there's no way that.
Mr. Lunder.
So it's my understanding that the county is making us do this.
This is the 911 committee. They're the ones that come up with the final plan, and they submit what they recommend to the state.
And we're gonna be the only county in the state to do this. My understanding.
We're the only county in Ohio that is proceeding what the state of Ohio requires. For example, in the ORC, the Ohio Administrative Code says that you have to have 2 dispatchers on every shift, but in the ORC. It says that you can have 1 dispatcher if you meet all the other requirements. Now, most PSAPs already have 2, just not 24/7. So what they're requiring is about 59.
Time frame to get this back to them.
Well, they were,
If they're getting.
It is.
well, they were requesting 30 days. Because Lake County was supposed to have their final plan submitted by April of 2024. They've been contacted several times by the state asking where it's at, for the last county in the state.
So if we don't do it within 30 days, is that the same as saying no, or is that no answer? I mean, how does that get treated by them?
No, they would have to wait. I believe there is another city that is doing the 3 reading rule.
I like waiting. No sweat.
I like making a stance.
I have questions. Chief, the cost estimates then that were presented on pages 15 to 17. Are these accurate? Are these realistic, what we're expecting? And what data was this based on? Like, how did they come up with this being the cost for $50,000 for the initial cost for our PSAP, and then the annual cost for each of the first 5 years and the total operating cost?
So the 50,000 based on what other agencies had to do to prepare. We've been talking about this a lot at chiefs meetings. There's, for example, every dispatcher was going to have 40 hours of next gen 911 training. There's additional training, there's additional equipment that is needed. Our equipment that we have now, it's next gen 911 ready. We just need to do some software updates. We've had it since 2016. So, I mean, realistically, we have to start thinking about purchasing new equipment in the future. In 2016, it cost us $110,000. Agencies now, they're paying $400,000 for equipment. Its costs have gone up that much.
So these costs are accurate. This is what we expect.
Yes.
So if we pass this, or if we go along with this and approve this final plan, my understanding is that we're stating that we're willing and able to comply with it. So I mean, even if we were willing, what your recommendation is that we should not be at this point, what would happen if we are unable? And what if we can't afford this $500,000, $50,000 startup and $500,000 a year? What happens?
So. The technology that is available today, this next year 911. Doesn't matter where your dispatch center is, you're gonna get the same exact service. It's gonna be better than what we've been using, the P911. There are agencies, there's an agency in Southern Ohio that is having an agency in Indiana. It's in the 911 policy. With the video, the text messaging, everything that the technology brings. It doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter where that dispatch center is, you're still gonna get the same service for your community. 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't that way, now it is. So by limiting, if you limit PSAPs, that gives us less options. We do decide when I look at merging. Can be done.
If we agree to this plan, because the final plan as they have it is lays out, we are a separate piece, I think lays out all these different ones. Does that then preclude our ability to merge with somebody in the future if it turns out that that's more economically feasible for us? Or do we have to go with?
No, it doesn't, actually, it kind of. I think it solidifies it. We have to have 2 dispatchers on every single shift. We doubling our budget for dispatching, doubling, we have to go from 4 dispatchers to 8 dispatchers. Both of them. And honestly, right now I've been having trouble. Still short 1 full-time dispatcher. I've been having trouble since the summer. Filling a full-time dispatcher, so getting up to 8, I think would be a really good challenge.
So if this plan doesn't pass, and we're allowed to just have 1 dispatch, are we still looking at potentially contracting out dispatch or?
There's still, the city is still gonna have a cost to do next gen 911. It's not gonna be as high if we don't have to have 2 on every shift. So we're gonna have to look at that cost and decide, do we wanna do it? Or do we wanna, I'm sorry, you'll have to decide. Are we gonna do it, or are we just tired of getting nickel and dime for everything when we can get the same service?
So. I'm kind of lacking what their justification is for why they want the 2 on at every shift. I mean, they're asking us to approve this plan without any real supporting documentation as to why this plan.
They are relying on what the Ohio Administrative Code says. That you have to have 2 dispatchers on every shift. They haven't even talked about the Ohio Revised Code, which says if you meet all the requirements, you can have 1 dispatcher on every shift. They can supersede state requirements. They can. I just happen to be the only county in the state that's doing it. I think realistically, I think the county wants less PSAPs in Lake County.
So. I guess my next question is. Who picked this committee? The people that are on the committee? How was that decided? When did we have a say on who was going to be on this committee?
Or had to say, that was.
Who selected them?
The commissioners.
Oh, yeah.
They should pick up the bill.
And then the last commissioners meeting. Said on YouTube, they commented that smaller communities apparently don't understand cost saving measures and that their initial thought when this started was that there were only gonna be 3 PSAPs in Lake County.
Is there a
The
motion?
county gets, for answering wireless 911 calls, the county gets $650,000 from the state. Because they are the only ones right now that have actually built. 50,000 of that goes to the 911 coordinator for the county. Which is, the sheriff's department. Once next gen 911 goes in effect, all these if there's 8 PSAPs doing next gen 911, that money gets divvied up. Between those agencies based on things like population, and all that, but it's less money.
Yeah, I'm already to send it back to them with a note. As a motion.
The only city that gets a cut of that is Mentor, because they're back to the central, right?
So I believe, has Mentor already passed this?
I believe so.
So in the resolution where it states that the plan must be approved by the commissioners as well as the legislative authorities of the townships, villages and cities of Lake County, which make up at least 60% of the county's population. Is that set which cities have to pass this, or is it any city so long as it makes up 60%? In other words, if we bow out of this, can they go find another city to make up our population and then pass it anyway? They can.
All the other communities are, voting on it, like, example, East Lake, Little Lake, White Bluff. Will be complete, will be Hills, they've already voted on it, they voted unanimously, they voted it down.
So it's been voted down in those communities. So
Mentor, I believe Mentor passed it. So they. Painesville passed it also.
Motion to suspend the rules made by Mrs. Thompson, seconded by Mrs. Moore. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore? Aye. Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong?
Aye.
Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. So here's the question for the law director. Ms. Schulte, since we all, I think, unanimously want to reject it, motion is usually made in the affirmative to approve something. So do we make a motion to approve it, then I'll just vote no? Is that how we most effectively reject it?
You never made a motion to disapprove.
We don't tend to just disapprove things, you know?
I guess someone would. I think someone would make a motion to approve it, you won't vote no.
Right.
That's what I figured, but I just wanted to verify from our law director on that. But-
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mr. Bittner. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore?
No.
Mrs. Thompson?
No.
Mr. Gray?
No.
Mr. Bittner,
No.
Ms. Wong?
No.
Mr. Lunder?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Hell no. All right. Moving on, old business. Now that we're all actually here, we can approve the changes that were made to the council rules. Adding in the changes for the law director. Is there a motion to approve the council rules that were amended?
Motion made?
Second. Motion made by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mr. Craig. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong?
Aye.
Mr. Lunder?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Alright, we'll have those assigned next meeting, I don't think we haven't put it out right now. New business, we have the sidewalk issue 660.05.
Okay.
Ordinance committee is going to be taking that on. As well as 1020.05, the excavations. Ten 20.05. Okay,
Got it.
okay, is there any other new business tonight? Yes,
You will have the financial information for the July 1st meeting by end of business day tomorrow.
Okay. Any other new business?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, yeah, I so that, yeah, that's right.
So so we planning like a 9-hour ordinance committee meeting?
I'm thinking.
Okay.
So I have something else to add to when we get to that.
Okay, any other new business? Alright, move on to open to the public to speak. If you'd like to speak, please come to the lectern, state your name and address for the record. Yada, 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 yada. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you? My name is Paul Morris, 7592 Pinehurst, and I know almost everything I stand up here, I have a complaint. Well, tonight I have some observations and accolades. First of all, Chief Forsyth, I commend you for your department's getting the grants you're getting. That's great. Everything that we can save helps the department's bill. Another observation is, it seems like our city likes to make eye tests out of street signs and so forth. I've noticed the last several years for the Fall Fest, their banners are very difficult to read. Somebody else told me they look like eye tests. Well, noticing the signs for the veterans that are up and down Andrews Road, I love those things. Except if you don't know who they are, try reading them. You can't read their names unless you stop under them to read them. I hope if they ever have to replace some, they can make those a little better to read, because it would be a lot nicer. Lastly, or no, I got one more. I commend council for looking at the budget to see where we stand before spending some major bucks in this city. Because, you know, I've stood here all the time, we bitched about, don't buy the fire truck. It's still useful. I still think that. But with that being said, I've got a curiosity. Why is it the fire department has 2 SUVs and a car? Are they trying to get enough cars so that every man on shift can go on a scavenger hunt? I don't understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll close this portion open to the public to speak. We will now move on to announcements and settings of meetings. Committee of the Whole Finance Committee will be Tuesday, July 1st, 2025 at 7 p.m. Planning and Zoning Commission, Monday, July 7th at 6 p.m. The public hearing on 2025-R-21 will be Tuesday, July 8th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Next regular meeting of council will be Tuesday, July 8th at 7 p.m.
Ordinance meeting, I know we just were added. Some stuff was added to our agenda tonight, and I also received back from Ms. Schulte 250.08G for holidays. She made some revisions, so I want to share that with the committee before we bring it back on the legislation. And also, I wanted to also go back to ordinance 2024-0-18 and make sure we had the proper wording in that one as well as we did for 2250.08, just to make sure everything coincides and everything looks the same. Any dates available for anybody? Students? We did set one.
That's what I say.
Yeah, we did set one up, July 28th. No.
Yes,
Yeah.
Monday, July 28th at 7 p.m.
Yep.
And I will send out the agenda as I have it here too.
Zoning committee. Is anyone available the week of August 4th? So August 4th itself is planning and zoning. If there is a meeting, however, Tuesday, August 5th, Wednesday, August 6th, Thursday, August 7th.
July 6th and 7th. All those days.
All right, how about Tuesday, the 5th? Is that fine, at 6:30 p.m.? So Tuesday, August 5th. At 6:30 p.m. for the next zoning committee. We did announce the special PRB meeting, right?
Yep, that's
I have June 30th at 6:30 is the Park and Recreation meeting regarding the LOBA update plans. July 1st at 7 p.m. we have council as a whole, which is the finance committee meeting. July 7th at 6, we have planning and zoning. July 10th, 6:30 is the regular park and recreation meeting. July 23rd at 7 p.m. is a council as a whole to discuss the final envision plan or the next stage of the envision plan. July 28th, 7 p.m. is the ordinance committee, and August 5th at 6:30 is the zoning committee.
Okay, anybody else want to schedule anything?
Motion for adjournment.
Motion made by Mr. Bittner,
Second.
second by Mr. Lunder for adjournment. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, or Mrs. Thompson,
Aye.
by Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Gray,
Aye.
Mr. Bittner,
Aye.
Ms. Wong,
Aye.
Mr. Lunder,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Yeah.